Alright, so today we are in Ottawa at the TCXpo. That's the event that's going on behind me. It's put on by Transport Canada and invites Canadian companies to come together and show off their technologies and how they're going to make our lives better. Now, before we get into what's going on behind me and the awesome drone section here, let's first fly the city because the leaves are starting to change here. It's autumn and it's going to make for some beautiful views. Alright, so I am going to be flying from the Ottawa River. I'm just on the Ottawa side right now. Across the river is Quebec. And the last time I was here, I flew from a familiar spot, but now I'm a little bit further west, you could say. I've also got a different drone, it's a different season, and we've got some different lighting conditions. So it's cool how you can come to a familiar area, but have all different equipment, all different conditions, and get some different results. So this go around, I'll be flying the Mini 4. I actually just recently passed my basic operations exam for flying drones. I actually did it before my Nova Scotia trip, and here's a cheesy picture of me doing that in a coffee shop. Now, even though I have my basic operations certificate, as an American citizen, I can't register my drone in the country of Canada. If I wanted to fly, I would need to submit an SFOC ahead of time. So instead of having to do all of that and go through that trouble for just the one day that I'm here, I figured I'd fly the Mini 4 Pro and also just look at that sunset behind me. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it is a great day to fly. So let's get this drone up in the air and I'll be back with you here in a little bit. Alright, so I am finally home, but that drive was well worth it because Ottawa was looking great with all of the colors changing. The Mini 4 Pro did a great job at capturing the sunset, at capturing the actual city itself. Ottawa is an awesome place to fly to because it's a capital city and you've got all those beautiful buildings. I mean, could you imagine being able to fly in Washington, D.C., being able to capture the Washington Monument, the White House, anything else that's down in that city? Of course, no drone flights are allowed in and around the area of D.C., so the fact that you can fly in Ottawa is pretty cool. And also the Ottawa River makes it really easy to get access to shoot pretty much wherever you want because you can capture a lot of different angles from there. Now, also TCXpo was a ton of fun. It was a very small event, I would say, but the quality was there. Like the quality of the vendors, the quality of the people there was so high that it felt like there was so much to do. Like after attending CES 2023, the Consumer Electronics Show, which is one of the largest electronic shows in the world, I sat in this very seat and made a video, I guess, about the state of the consumer drone market and wondered if it was dying, because while I was there, DJI wasn't able to table, they weren't able to show off their technology because of their whole implication with the entity list. Autel was the only really drone manufacturer showing off their technology, and most of the tech was on, I would say, the commercial side or the industrial side and not the consumer side, as they released their new Evo Max. And then also, like, Sony was there showing off their Air Peak, but whenever Sony brings their drones to any trade show, it's always just sitting there on a table or suspended from the ceiling. It's never actually flying, which is always a bummer. summer. Now this brings us to today, right? Me getting back from the TCXpo, which I don't know if I mentioned stands for Transport Canada Expo. So it's really cool that the government actually brings together all of these different companies to show off their technology. And there wasn't only drones there. There was things there that are generally going to make our lives better. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, there's things like autonomous tractors, autonomous cars. They had a lot of awesome technology in regards to smart cities and things of that nature. So these are things that the Canadian government are investing in that are going to make their citizens' lives better. And there was a fairly large drone section. When you look at the size of the actual event, I'd say that there's probably 20 to 30 companies there, and all of them, all of them had great technology to show. If you go to like a commercial UAV expo, for example, they usually host it in Las Vegas. There's also AUVSI. There's a couple of other like drone conventions. It's just all the same thing, really, right? It's these companies coming up and showing off their technology. Unfortunately, there's different companies from year to year because some of them just don't have a solid product and can't make it. A lot of these drones look home built. A lot of these drones are piggybacking off of what DJI offers in their drones. So it's just a software solution. But again, from year to year, it's like brand new companies because some of them fold, some of them can't stay afloat in terms of their finances. And it's really just the same old, same old. So you get this huge convention hall with all these companies, but there's probably only 10% of those that are really worth looking at. But here at TCXpo, it was basically 100%. Every single one of these companies was bringing awesome technology to look at. Now, I can't possibly cover each and every single thing that I saw while I was up at the TCXpo. I will, however, cover a few things that I saw that I think are going to make some of the largest differences, or really that I thought were the most interesting. The first of which were the ground robots. Now, I know that this is like a drone channel and we pretty much just cover aerial platforms, but I'm not gonna lie, I've taken an interest into these ground robots and what they can do, because really not all robots need to fly, right? These drones are, of course, flying robots, but there's going to be scenarios where you need something that can drive on the ground. And the filmmaker in me, the photographer in me, is wondering, how can I mount a camera onto one of these robots to get some really awesome, smooth ground level shots? Almost like I'm flying a drone, right? Mounting gimbal up there on the top, that could be pretty cool. But when you look at the industrial use for some of these different robots, it really does take you down a rabbit hole of so many things that they can do. Now, when I initially saw that little RC car driving around on the gravel pit, I instantly thought of the RC XD, the score streak from Call of Duty Black Ops. It was like complete throwback to when I used to play video games. So that was pretty cool. And of course, now we're seeing that technology actually be implemented. Like, how cool would it be to actually drive an RC car around and, I don't know, carry things around or deliver things, right? Or maybe even provide reconnaissance and go and scout areas out. So that really is some cool technology there on the robot front. Now, in terms of the aerial platforms, like the actual drone section, there's a lot of cool different hardware solutions, right? So people actually making their own drones for drone delivery or inspections, but there's also awesome software that integrate with DJI's already great drones. They're already great drone lineup. So you could go and buy a drone off the shelf and then make better use of it through these different software platforms that integrate with these different systems. Now, getting into some of the specific companies that were here, of course, our good friends over at AVSS were displaying their guided parachute system. They started by making parachutes for drones, right? So for the Matrix series, the Mavic series, the Inspire series, they even now have an integration with Skydio's new X10. So they're making the parachute that goes on their new generation of drone. And this allows you to do things you otherwise wouldn't be able to, right? So with the proper approvals and waivers using this parachute, you can now fly over crowds of people. So this now unlocks a huge potential of drones that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do without a parachute. Now, I got a chance to go up with them to Labrador City and check out their new guided parachute system. And this is actually a parachute for the payload, right? For the actual thing you're carrying on the drone. So it was so cool to be able to see the Alta flying, drop off a payload, and then the parachute deploys and the computer on board now takes control of the payload and guides it to where you want it to land. This technology is really going to change how search and rescue works. I mean, think about it. Now, if you're unable to get to somebody for hours on end with actual humans and an actual rescue device, you can send a drone out to them immediately, autonomously, drop off supplies to them so that they now have a better chance of surviving. So there is just so many awesome applications being used with that guided parachute system, and I really can't wait to see where that technology goes in the future. Now, I spent a good amount of time over at the TrackSense booth as well, who are developing software to automate the rail inspection process using drones and using software. Now, they're using the Wingtra platform, so it's a fixed wing VTOL drone. It's orange, and that was actually my first time getting a chance to see it in person. Take off vertically, flip over, and then fly like a fixed wing. It's a really cool system, and its landing is also pretty cool. Like, it comes in, it flips back down, lands, no problem at all. So there's a lot of awesome benefits there. But when you look at the actual software, right, using TrackSense and what it's capable of doing, it is going to save these rail companies so much money, and it's also going to help the general public up in Canada as their railways, as their goods are now going to be able to move a lot easier with much more confidence. Like, I was looking at some of these maps of some of these railways, like one of them specifically going up to Churchill, which is way up north in Manitoba, and like that is so remote, so desolate, and so isolated that it's going to be great to see these drones run these automated missions to check up on the railways where humans might not be able to. Like, if you just think about how catastrophic these derailments can be to people on board, if it's a passenger train, or even the goods on board, it really does cause a big bottleneck in terms of getting things places, because if a train derails, you've got to come in and clean it up, and now that railway is completely shut down. Now, pretty awesome. Next week, I'm going to be spending a full week with TrackSense up in Saskatchewan, just south of Regina, doing some testing and making some videos. So it's going to be cool to see how this software is actually changing the world and changing railways in real time. Now, there's another company there, and I'm completely blanking on their name, but they made a drone that is unlike anything I've ever seen, and it has an ultrasonic sensor on the front that allows it to actually touch things and touch metal and do inspections like physically, right? Like, you're not just capturing aerial imagery, you're actually now using different sensors. So first of all, this drone is designed completely differently than any other drone that I've ever seen. The actual rotors can actually move up and down to move that ultrasonic sensor in a different position in case you need to alter the direction that it's actually facing. So you can get to some pretty complex areas. It also has sensors all the way around and maneuvers in a way I've never seen. I mean, look, this again was one of the craziest drone designs that I've ever seen, but think about it, right? Like, think about what this could actually be used for. It was explained to me in a way that I've never thought about drones being used before. So let's say you have a ship coming into port and you want to know how much fuel is left in the tanker. Well, you could fly the drone out, put it right up against the ship, have it fly with the ship, analyze how much fuel is in there, get an estimate, and then figure out what that ship needs to do, right? I mean, these ships always need to be inspected, and it takes time, it takes money, but now if you can automate this process and use a drone to do that situation, that scenario, complete that task, you've now saved money, you've saved time, and you've made things a lot easier. So that is super cool. It's something I never thought of, but again, it's always great to see how drones are changing different industries time and time again. Now, I also saw a lot of mini drones on tables, right? So these are companies that are making software solutions that can be built on top of DJI's current hardware. So I saw a lot of Mini 2s and Mini 3 Pros, no Mini 4 Pros here, but regardless, it's cool to see that these technologies are being built on top of DJI's already great drones, especially the mini drone. I mean, this drone is great. It's awesome. It does everything that you need, and it's also very inexpensive when it comes to drone standards, right? I mean, you look at these commercial drones, these industrial drones, they're tens of thousands of dollars, but a mini drone, you could buy one of these for like $500. And this kind of brings me full circle to the mini. This drone was awesome to bring up with me, and Canada's drone laws are so friendly, right? Like, if you've got a micro drone, you just fly and don't be an idiot, right? And you could also do work with this, right? Like, I wouldn't need to go and get my basic or advanced operation certificate. I would be able to just go and get my drone, start working with it. There's nothing about money exchange. That's why with the FAA, it kind of burns me up a little bit, right? It's like, hey, you want to make money with your drone? Okay, come and get a license. And also, what determines making money with a drone? Because sometimes they'll say that if you go and buy a drone and if you start posting photos and videos to social media, that counts as furthering your business. So look, the lingo is kind of tough, but when it comes to what Canada is doing with drones, it really is awesome to see. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Let me know your thoughts on the Mini 4 Pro down in the comments, as well as TCXpo. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.